This year's Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test is happening on March 26, 2015. Grade 10 students at PDCI will be writing the test on that date. It is the only date scheduled for the test this year. It's very important that all students attend that day, as there is no other day for the test scheduled this year. If your student or child happens to be sick that day, it's important that you contact the office immediately. The test consists of 2 parts. Each part has a question booklet and an answer booklet for students to write their answers into. The test will begin at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the students will write during periods 1 and 2 of the morning. They will write for 75 minutes each section to complete the test, and will be given a 15-minute break between each set of booklets to use the washroom and to have a snack. At the end of June, all students that wrote the test this March will receive an individualized letter from our school to indicate how they did on the test. It will indicate to them whether or not they passed the test and what their score was. Their score will be out of a total of 400 marks, and a score of 300 is required to pass the literacy test. Staff here from the school will directly contact parent and student to indicate whether or not a student failed the test. It is a requirement for your diploma. You do need to pass the test or alternately take the Ontario Literacy Credit, which is a semester-long course in lieu of the test. That is one of the alternative options. And so by contacting you at the end of June with this information, you're able to make some decisions about whether the test is going to be taken again the following year or whether you would prefer to enroll in the course. An excellent resource to check out is the EQAO website at www.eqao.com, and I thought I'd take you on just a little tour of where you could find some of the literacy test resources. So I just pressed enter, or I just went into the English, and what we want to do is look at parent resources up at the top, click in there, and then choose Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test at the bottom. That will take us into where there are a number of resources that we can look at. So I thought we'd start with the Getting Ready Guide. So it's partway down the screen. So the Getting Ready Guide gives you a lot of information. It's just some general information about things that you can do to help prepare. It shows you a bit of the format of what the test will look like. It gives you tips for reading and writing tasks that the students are asked to do, details about both of those as well. And it answers a number of questions that you might have about general items related to the test. Another great resource to take a look at is the Planning and Preparation Guide. So if we go back to the screen where we chose the Getting Ready Guide, we can have a look at it as well and walk through some of the things that it gives us for information. So we want to click on the Planning and Preparation Guide. This is what it looks like. This document has a lot more specific information about the kinds of tasks that students will do. If you look on this screen, it talks about the reading selections, the writing selections, the writing tasks, exactly what they're being asked to do, the length of items that they're being asked to read and write, the styles of questions. It looks at some more specific information about the reading with some examples to go along with it. So this is example 1, and they've given us some paragraphs to read and some multiple choice questions to have a look at. There's a number of examples. Here's another with a number of questions to go with it. This is an example of a dialogue where you're reading conversations between a couple of people, sort of picking up midway through their conversation and trying to make sense of that. The writing tasks include writing long pieces of writing, like a news report. So there's some information here on that. There's some information on writing a series of paragraphs as well, and some short writing tasks. So they give us lots of examples to look through. There are a number of multiple choice questions on the test as well. And this planning and preparation guide sort of ends with a lot of general questions that you may have, again, about the test, similar to the Getting Ready Guide. So I've gone back to the screen where we were looking at the planning and preparation guides, and I've clicked on the options to look at some actual old test questions. So I've chosen 2012, 2013. And in here there is some examples of questions where we've got some reading, some multiple choice, and some short answer questions that you can practice in preparation for the actual test. Now, to go along with that, with those questions, there are some answers, student answers, that you can go back and take a look at as well to compare your answers with. So I've gone back to the original screen. Now I'm going to choose on the side item-specific rubrics and student samples. So these are the samples that students have answered from across the province for that reading and multiple choice that we just had a look at. So it gives us an example of how the question is scored. And if you're looking at this short answer from that reading, it's scored out of 10, 20, or 30. So here's an example of a 10 answer and what the question was from the previous question booklet that we just had a look at. There's an answer of a 20 question and a 30. 30 is the maximum number of marks that you can receive for a short style question like that. So there are some other examples as well from that previous question booklet. This is a marking rubric again for the next short answer question, which was describing an environmental issue and using details to explain why it's important. So this is marked out of 10, 20, or 30 as well. So back to the original screen again, and there are some other options to take a look at there. There is the second booklet down below. Here's an example as well of the answer key to all the multiple choice questions in that booklet that we were just taking a look at as well. So you can check your multiple choice answers for some of those readings that you did as well. So I've gone back to the original screen again, and I wanted to show you some of the important aspects of Booklet 2. Booklet 2, generally speaking, has the longer opinion piece writing or a series of paragraphs, and this is always a really good question for students to prepare for because it's worth a significant amount of marks to go towards their total. So here's an example of one that was asked one year: should any course be compulsory in high school? So they give us this information for the writing prompt, and then we can go back out and go into the annotated answers again and take a look at some examples of how that question was answered by various students and what their scores were to reflect those answers. So a big question like this is marked out of 60 marks for its content. So what you're writing about, your topic development. So here's an example of a student that only received 10 out of 60 based on that short sentence. Here's an answer of 20 out of the 60 for content for this question. This is a piece of writing that needs to be well developed, multiple paragraphs, usually 5, with 3 good reasons to support their answer. So this code 60 is the maximum number of marks that you could receive for content for this question. So this is a good example right here to take a look at to get an idea of full marks. The other 40 marks for the opinion piece is based on convention. So your paragraphing, errors in communication that either distract or don't distract. So the total question is worth 100 marks. That's a good question to look at and to practice in preparation for the test. So that was a look at the 2012-2013 released questions, and on this screen you'll see that there are a number of different years that you could have a look at. You could go in and look at various questions that the EQAO has released over the years to continue practicing and trying some questions in preparation for the test. So I hope that was helpful in helping you navigate the website and to take a look at what valuable resources that they have available on that site. So we've given you some general information about the test this year, which is occurring on March 26th. We're starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's very important that the students make sure that they get to school on time that day, and please contact the office immediately in the morning if your child is too sick to come to school to write the test. It's important to make sure that your child has a good night's rest the night before the test. It is a long morning for the students, and very important that they are as well rested as they possibly can be. Feed them a healthy breakfast. Send them to school with a great lunch and a good snack. And try some of the practice questions that are on the EQAO website with your child. I'm sure that they will enjoy seeing you being challenged as you work through some of the practice questions and help them prepare for this very important assessment on this day. So I'm hoping that this short video gave you the information that you require to get ready for the test, to be prepared in terms of the kinds of questions that are going to be asked of the students, and really just some general information around the test and the date. If you have any further questions that you would like answered, please contact the school. Kara Fleming, Rhonda Wright, or Sharon Bork should be able to answer any of those questions that you might have about this test on March 26th, the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test that is a requirement for the student's diploma.